for Advice UK, and I'm coming live to you for about the next hour or so, taking any questions career related, such as anything relating to CVs, cover letters, apprenticeships, applying to university, UCAS personal statement. Should you start your own small business? How to interview under the third interview. How is it different and more? So if you have a question, please put it down below and I pick up my questions first come, first served basis. In case you didn't know, I am also the owner and founder of Leap Forward Careers, helping those in the UK manage and navigate the UK employment market, such as, hey, Steve, good to see you. Helping individuals with writing CVs, preparing CVs, interview testing, preparing for interviews, interview simulation, and also help with job search and also feedback on what is working, what isn't, to help you find a job in a less amount of time. And right now, I'm currently offering a free CV review. So all you have to do is message me the word CV and I will pick those up. You just need to ensure you have your account enabled. And to help you manage and navigate on leapstartcareers.com, I do offer, hey, Jet and Ross, good to see you. I do offer several guides. Some of them are free. Some of the guides I have are free, are like disability, neurodivergence. I also offer a free guide on preparing your CV for application tracking system, the system that uses and filters CVs in order to rank them to help employers. Hey, good to see you, Jet. How are you doing? So that they can help to identify the most possible candidate, the best candidates for the role that closely match. And there is a free guide and also a more comprehensive guide for a small amount of fee. I also have on the site my book, UK Job Seeker Playbook 2026. Couldn't be better to doing good. It's a nice day today. A bit warm here in North Yorkshire, but not enough to keep me from going on. Hi, Ivan. Good to see you. So it is there. It is there for available for purchase. And also I do have a database interview test bank. And so there is a lot there to help you. So today, what I am going to do is spend a little bit of time talking about AI. And also, hey, thank you for the likes. If you are joining, you do like the feed, please like, please share and please follow. And if you do feel inclined, but don't feel as though you have to, please thank us because it really does help me to know what resonates with people and viewers and helps me digest today's topic. So talking a bit today about interviewing. And one of the things I just put on under my other account, Leap Forward Careers, is it is one talking about this very interesting thing. And if you join me for my other live streams, I do talk a lot about, but I haven't for a while, on this idea of AI and how AI will in fact impact the job market. And I do always come back for this idea about the late 80s to the early 2000s, when the internet was becoming a mainstay in the home and computers were going from the mainframes to the personal size, and homes and businesses started to embrace them. Hey, thank you for the share, Jed. That's very nice. And so talked about that. And so today I'm going to do a little bit more on that because I think it's a very important topic. And it is one that a lot of people don't face or don't think about. Like I said, I've done content on it on my Leap Forward Careers account on TikTok, and I tend to use that more for people who are looking for support and services. So in that one, I talk a bit about supporting people in interviews who want to be able to test their answers and to see if it will stand up. And so what in the idea and what the content is about is this, because it really falls on, like I said, my previous discussions on the live stream. Hey, Keith. Hey, Ty. Hey, TMGE, BM. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining. So I'm talking about today AI in job interviews. And so one of the things a while back ago, I was asked to market to you guys, which I said no to, was this AI type of device that would listen into the interviews and give you answers to those questions. And right now, what's happening with the advent of AI, people are beginning on both business and applicant side, both people know that you can use AI. AI can coach you. And like I said, on my website, leapstarcareers.com, I do have an AI test bank database to help you kind of structure answers and stuff that you're asked, and also how to answer. Hey, Mail, Short, and Elise, and Matthew, good to see you all. Thank you for joining. And so it talks about that. And so the item that I was given was that it was a little device. When you go into the interview, it gives you the answers to it. And in this content that I have just posted, talks about the fact that when you go into interviews, you may find that you are getting, more and more like follow-up questions to get you to dig deeper and deeper into it, and to see if it is I don't know. You just that's a visa question, and that if you're looking to go to the US, the best thing is for you to speak with a US immigration lawyer, and there are several in London that do help people in the UK with US immigration. So best thing to look for, type in your search bar, US immigration lawyers in London, and they will be able to advise you on the legalities, if there's any exceptions to the H-1B visa, because U.S. visa rules have gotten stricter over the last couple of years, and so it is best for you to do that. So getting back to the topic, so how did they know? It is because when you do work with AI, AI, it is one of these things that AI will give you some very polished answers. And what it does sound like, it's really polished. It sounds really powerful when you say it. But when you start to really dwell and start to peel back, hey, Shan, Rita, Slim Peptides, BM, Cloney, good to see you all. When you start to pull back those layers, what you start to see is that there's a lot of good sounding, very powerful words, but there is no cohesion, and it doesn't really make sense when you start to strip it back. So it sounds, it's basically, back in the days when I did programming, it's called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you program garbage, you're going to get garbage out. So what it is, when you start to get these questions and follow-up questions and deeper questions and trying to get you to clarify and to pull it apart, what they're really looking for, because they probably suspect you're using AI, is what is it that you know? Are you able to support, your statement? Are you able to evidence it? Or is this what AI is telling you to say? Because people will use AI for interviews. Like I said, they'll wear earpieces that listens in. They will use AI. If it's like a interview online, they'll be running AI in the background, putting into questions and trying to get it back. And so they know, interviewers do know that people are using AI. And so what they are wanting to do is to get around this. And this is, hey, Matthias, thank you for the follow. Um, and so what it does is it does, and so they're trying to get through and try to see what you actually know, what are your skills. And so this is one of these things. Um, where I've talked about previously with AI, there is a certain, when computers came in, people did virtually the same thing. And it is this whole thing that's, again, it's the checks and balances. People don't, when computers came in, people, wanted the human contact. And so we started to see, the demise of the high street, the demise of brick and mortar stores never happened because people wanted that human contact. And what we're seeing right now with AI may be good. It may give you the answers. It may help you prepare, make your life a bit easier. But the reality at the end of the day, it still relies on you. And to go into an interview with AI and thinking that you basically have, a bit sneaky, that you can answer the questions based on using AI is, it's being caught by employers and they know, so they're going to put a stop to it. The other thing you have to remember, and this is a very important thing to remember, okay, if you're using AI to answer interview questions, you get the job offered and you come in, you're still going to be required to perform the role. And if you don't perform and you don't perform at the level that you stated during the interview, what is going to happen is this: you will lose. You will be dismissed on a fair basis because you misrepresented yourself. It's dismissal on misrepresentation. It means that it means, hey, Cuss, good to see you. Thank you for joining. It is a way for being dismissed on a fair basis. It means that you've misrepresented yourself. It means, and if you are in a highly regulated, hey, thank you for the follow, profession, what it can mean for you is this: it may mean that you lose your ability to practice. So if you're in law, financial area, and you get in using AI, and it becomes later found out that you misrepresented yourself because you used AI, and what you claim you're able to do, you're not. It is misrepresentation. It can be seen as fraud, and it can mean, in certain circumstances, that you lose your ability to practice, especially in areas where you're regulated, like healthcare, law, financial sector, and stuff. So it is very important, if you're going into interviews, to be sure that you're always aware of your legal and ethical and professional obligations about representing yourself. And AI may get you the job, but it doesn't mean you will keep it. And it may ultimately mean that you wind up losing it, and it may ultimately cost you more to your reputation than had you not. So it's always, use it as part of the prep. It's a way to prep, do your research, think about the questions you may have, test your questions. Like I say, my site, Leap Start Careers, has a database that you can practice questions and ask how to answer them. Hey, Jaden, good to see you. But again, it really comes down to you and you being able to evidence it, because really at the end of the day, when you're doing an interview, what you have to remember is that there is at least a two-part process to hiring. One is to show the employer what you have done. Um, and um, the second part is the second part is being able to evidence it. And if you can't evidence it, then you are not able to get that job because you will need to evidence it. And then, kind of, the third part is once you get hired, is showing that you can actually perform at the level you stated on your CV and interview. And so it is that kind of check and double check. And so if you bring in AI to help you, hey, Shaz and BM, good to see ya. It is, hey, Sniper, good to see you and thank you for the follow. So it is very important that as you use it responsibly and you don't use it to misrepresent yourself. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that you may find out that you do get may be able to find a job that you used it to get, may be short living, and it may be, um, you know, and again, it's one of those things to be very careful about. Um, so one of the other things I do get a lot from is kind of the questions about redundancy in the UK. And it is a time right now. The UK jobs data report came out, I believe, on Tuesday this week. And what it did show, which wasn't shocking to me, was a uptick from 4.7% unemployment back up to 4.9%. And the reason why it doesn't shock me is because it's within basically the margin of error for what ONS uses. And so it's within the margin of error, the change. And so it is, I think, for me, it's not as shocking because we had a government that went out, so they wanted to show again, massage the numbers a little bit, to make it look like they were actually improving things so that, to put pressure on the new coming government because they knew once the next figures came out, it would show a rise. And so it's to put the blame back onto them. And it is to hold them, the new government, accountable. And so it is that. But what it does mean is, because we're seeing still around 4.95%, which is at, depending on the definition of full employment, which is basically, put it in very simple terms, the point at which anyone who's looking for a job that wants a job is able to find one. Hey, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for the follow. It's able to get a job. Basically, that's what full employment means. And from an economic standpoint, depending on the figures definition you use, it varies somewhere between 5 and 6%. I tend to go with 5% because I think 5 is a nice round number that is easily understood by a lot of people. And when you start talking 5.5, or 6, it starts to kind of get a bit more abstract. So I always tend to go with 5 because it's a lot easier to understand. So we're at that point where people who want jobs are able to get jobs, but there's a lot of competition. There is jobs, it's just the amount of competition. And so what it also means for people who are, hey, Mr. Leo and Joe Milton, it is, the one thing it's when you are looking for a job, what it really means at this stage. Um, you need to be very strategic. And if you are facing redundancy, it really, again, using that idea of being strategic, what it means for you is this. It means that when you are made redundant, you don't start basically um, carpet bombing the whole job market in your area with your CV and just covering it all. Because at the end of the day, chances are that CV hasn't been updated. Chances are you haven't put your new job on it and you haven't covered all that you have, done in the role. And so just by sending out your CV massively, um, the other thing it does show is that you haven't taken time to read the job description. So you're kind of seen as somebody who's maybe a little bit impulsive. You haven't taken time to pay attention to detail, and you're going to send out basically, literally, hundreds of CVs with no replies, which then will send you into a bit of a spiral because you feel it's your skills, you have outdated skills, nobody wants you, and it kind of just really kind of sets you up for the lack of a better word, for failure, because you believe now you're a failure. You sent out all these CVs without making any updates to it, any corrections, not taking time to read the job description. So really, if you are facing redundancy, the first thing you really need to do is give yourself some breathing room. Hey, Hanson, hey, Ryan, and Jonas, good to see you all. What you really need to do is give yourself a little bit of breathing room. When you find out you're being made redundant, don't do that knee-jerk reaction. Hey, Crystal Cove, and start sending out CVs. The worst thing you can do, the best thing you can do is give yourself a couple days, process it. Okay. And once you've kind of started to process it and you're ready to start looking, start to then look at your CV. Before you do anything else, take a look at your CV. Take a look at how old it is and start to update it. Start making updates. You too, Crystal. You have a lovely day, and thank you for stopping by. Hey, Rizla. Um, so so take a time to take a look, and begin to update it. Also, too, as you're kind of going through and processing all of this, one of the first things you should do before your CV is start to look at what you're owed. Because your contract of employment may or may not address the topic of redundancy and what you get and how redundancy is calculated. If it doesn't, and if you check your policies for your company and they don't have a current um, policy on redundancy, it is then likely, though not guaranteed. Hey, Maka and Mace, good to see you. It is very likely that what you have is you're facing what's called statutory redundancy. And statutory redundancy is based on how much you've earned, how long you've been with your employed by your current employer. And you do need to be with your employer to qualify for statutory redundancy for 2 years. Your contract of employment may have less time. It may also give you a bit more. So again, always check your contract and also always check your company's policies. Because like I said, it may be something different than statutory. And so once you do leave under statutory, there's also a second part that nobody tells you about, because there is a cap to statutory redundancy. There are other payments. Hey, no, it's good to see you, Rizla. I'm glad to see you back. So, um, so yeah, so you do have that. You have that part of statutory redundancy. And I always like to say check, because the second part is sometimes employers will, to get redundancy and not have to kind of force them to go through the whole, hey, well, thank you, and for the heartbeat, that's amazing, thank you so much again. um and one of the things is, when you're doing it, they may offer enhanced, so they may offer enhanced redundancy above anything else that they may offer in the way of policy or contract. So they may offer other incentives for people to put in their notice. And it is a way to really, for them to make sure, they don't have to go through the exercise. They get to people. And then once they get through those who are looking to leave, um, they will then start to go through any needed redundancies to do it. And so again, if you are thinking maybe it's time to, if you're, again, thinking, hey, maybe I want to change jobs, and you do get the enhanced redundancy package because they're looking to get people to leave, it may be something worth looking. Hey, thank you for joining in 3. And so it is really important that you really take a look at that. Also, too, they also still do owe you is, if you have any unspent annual leave, they can pay it out to you, but most organizations will require you to will ask you to take it beforehand. And this is because they don't have to pay it out then, because then they pay it and they don't have to pay it to you. And if you're going through redundancy, you can use that time then to look for other jobs. And so it is kind of a win-win for both. And then the other thing is, what they have to do is pay you notice pay. And again, best collection and laugh out loud. I didn't know. Good to see you all. And they do have to pay you the notice period. So if your contract says 2 months, then most of the time they honor it. I do believe they can. There's a statutory notice period, and that may wind up on the basis of 1 week for every year. So they could technically go to the statutory on that one for notice periods, but most will honor the contract notice period. So if you have a 2-month notice period, then they will typically honor that for redundancy. The other thing to remember with redundancy is they may ask you as a part of it, because I've gone through this redundancy many, many years ago. And what they do ask sometimes, because I worked in a very sensitive area, that they put you on garden leave. And what garden leave basically is this, is that you can't leave the organization. You stay with the organization through your notice period, but you don't work. So they will pay you during your notice period just to keep you, so you do not, so you don't leave. And so that's really what notice period is. So if you are, facing redundancy, you do face these. And again, like I was saying, once you've kind of got through, worked out what you are owed, the next thing is, and you got your CV up to date, and given that we're talking right around 5%, and we're talking probably, if we're including people who are also looking to do career changes, change jobs, we are probably, because there's so very few jobs in the UK right now, 712 vacancies, and we probably, finger in the wind, have well over, when we talk about for roughly 5% unemployment rate, we're talking well over 2 million people applying for roughly 712,000 vacancies. So it really makes it means then when you factor in the unemployed plus those who are looking to do changes. Hey, Damilo, good to see you. We're talking roughly finger in the wind. Over 2 million people applying for a limited amount of jobs. So it really means as you are being made redundant, you just really need to be very conscious of that figure because it means that you're not alone. It means a lot of other people are also going through it because, and I can tell you right offhand, one of the biggest search topics I get on my TikTok account is redundancy UK. It is a very common one, or anything varied with redundancies, redundancy rights. What is redundancy? Because a lot of people are facing redundancy due to the very low number of jobs. Yeah. Oh, that's good, Rizlog. That's really good. You know, glad to hear that because I do, you know, it is one thing I can do with people facing redundancy and people who are, you know, finding it difficult to find a job. I can work with you as a part of service I do offer um, to help you find jobs um, and also to kind of work through the feedback and try to work out, you know, um, what's working for you, what's not working for you, and help you get find something quicker. So yes. So hey, Zebra. So yeah. So if you're coming and just joining, talking a little bit about UK redundancy, um, and how to kind of get yourself through it and to find your next job. So the next part, what I'm going to talk about is being strategic, because like I said, at the beginning of this discussion, you don't want to find out you're being made redundant in the UK and then basically just do a mass email of your CV to everyone because it's not going to work. And it's going to waste a lot of your time. And a lot of the time, like I said, could be better spent working out how much you're going to be owed, kind of thinking about your next steps, trying to look at your financials and stuff and start to prepare. And so that's one aspect. So when you start to go back, you've made your updates to your CV. The one thing you really need to start doing is start looking for jobs that closely align to what you've done, closely aligned to your skill set. And so for me, I have really about 3 chunks of skill sets. One is contract management. I can manage, write, draft contracts, advise, negotiate contracts in my sleep. The second is I do have IT skills, though they're a bit outdated. I can easily adapt and pick them up again. Um, and kind of like the front end kind of service management into things, systems management. I can easily do that again if I needed to. And the third is really strong admin skills, very proficient with the whole Outlook package, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, MS Project, Visio, Outlook. Basically, I can do pretty much anything with it. So I think it is very, I think it is, for me, I can do that. And I will have 3 separate CVs that cover those. And so you need to think about, where do your skills lie? What did they, where did they sit? So if you're just joining, you do like the feed, please like, please share and please follow. And if you do feel so inclined, but don't feel though you have to, please think gives it. It really does help me to know what is resonating with people. So as we talk about this, and we're talking about strategy, it means, once you do become redundant, it does mean a couple of things. It means if we're talking about a situation a couple months ago, a couple years ago when we were under, you know, where we are right now, if we're talking closer to about 4%, 3.5% unemployment, what we're then talking about is you being able to apply for jobs where maybe you sit there and you meet maybe 60 or 70% of the job. Employer will take you on, hire you, train you up to kind of fill the gaps that you don't know. Because it is going to be relatively easy, hey, Alexis, um, to fill it because it is just a little bit of a knowledge gap. And sometimes it's just you don't have maybe the sector knowledge. Um, and so, again, it is somewhat of the sector knowledge, and you will pick it up very quickly. Um, it is it's that sector knowledge that maybe you need to get a bit more on. So again, um, it's not that kind of situation anymore. You really need to really kind of know where your skills lie, and also to where your skills lie, what it is that you're interested in doing, and start applying for those jobs. And I think it is at that point, and start applying for those jobs. Again, when you start applying, it doesn't mean send out the same CV to them. Absolutely don't do that, because at the end of the day, when you do that, what it does happen is you just don't get a response. And if you're wondering why, if you read, the papers, UK media, and occasionally you'll see someone basically um, on their whining that they sent out 300 applications and no one's heard back. Haven't heard back. 9 chances out of 10 that person hasn't um, taken the time to read the job description. They haven't taken the time to align their CV, their cover letter, with the job itself. And instead, they just sent out the same CV to all 300, and they're left baffled and scratching their head why they haven't heard anything. And that's what I do with Leap Start Careers. Really, that is the crux at leapstartcareers.com. If you go there and you're looking for support, as the owner and founder of Leap Forward Careers, that is what I do. And in a very simple way, is help people to navigate and to work out why, if you're sending out 300 CVs, why you're not getting any responses back, and how to fix that situation, hey Victor, and how to fix that situation, and how to update your CV, and and start to identify roles that closely align with your CV and experiences. So if you have, and so when you get in there and you're interviewing and doing your CV, one of the questions I do get is, how do you handle being redundant? You know, it's not, if you've been made redundant this time around, you know, redundancies happen. I mean, it is very, and employers know that this is a very competitive job market, because they're very restrictive in hiring because of the high cost of doing that. And I've some of my content yesterday at Career Advice UK and leapforwardcareers.com, Leap Forward Careers on TikTok talked about it. And so it is a very difficult situation for both employers and applicants. And employers know that people are struggling to find jobs. And so it's not going to be uncommon for them to have people who come and apply who've been made redundant. And so it shouldn't be something that you want to hide just be upfront with it, is that companies, my organization made some cuts. I was made redundant, and I've, done a bit of skill assessment and found that, feel that this role closely matches my skill set. And that's all you have to say. It's very quick, quick explanation. They know, they understand. Where it becomes a bit of an issue, maybe, is if you've had 2 or 3 close redundancies. If your last 3, hey, good question. I love Ottawa. I would say is take a look at LinkedIn, do a job search. There's a lot of jobs that get posted on LinkedIn, and also, look for grad opportunities. Start looking at companies and start working out companies in your area, your field of expertise, where your degree lies. And start looking for those who are hiring, and start looking for them at those companies that are doing grad job hiring. The next step, I would say, is on LinkedIn is start writing articles, start replying to posts regarding things in your area of expertise. So if you're HR, maybe talk about hiring trends, pensions, something that's of interest to you. If you're, let's say, in law and looking for your first training contract, start, writing about areas of law that, that you find of interest. And they will start in making sure you have your profile optimized on LinkedIn. And again, that's one thing I do work with people at leapforwardcareers.com, is how to optimize your LinkedIn profile for a small fee. How do you optimize your LinkedIn profile? And make sure it's profiled to be searchable in that way. And as you start to write articles, start replying to people, you will start to find, you start getting interest and more profile views, and you'll start to get contact. It's not overnight. And that's the one thing you have to realize with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not kind of like TikTok, Twitter, to a certain extent, even Facebook to a certain extent. It's not that instant gratification. LinkedIn does take time to build it. You need to be very consistent with LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's going to be futile. So if you just post once in a while, you respond to a post on occasion, you're not going to get the traction you need. I do write on the topic of employing disabled on TikTok, and I've been doing that for several months now. I just had one a couple of weeks ago go not quite viral. Wound up with almost 200,000 impressions. I think about 80,000 views. And it's because I've taken it a while and people started, following and built my following. It takes a lot to do it on LinkedIn. So strategy is optimize your profile. Strategy is start writing articles and start writing and start replying on a very regular basis, almost on a daily basis. I wouldn't say articles. I do have a formula for that, but if you want to talk more about how to kind of get your following up on LinkedIn, then feel free to book some time with me. The other thing, what I would say is, as you start getting it, build a following on LinkedIn, what you probably start to need to do then is asking people to follow you. Don't be kind of knee jerk. Respond to a couple of polls, get them to kind of know you, and then ask them to follow ask to follow them and see if they will follow you back. Um, if you start just making massive replies to people and just asking them, unlike other social media platforms, um, LinkedIn will punish you for it, and you'll start to see very little. So you need to be very strategic in your approaches, and you need to ensure that anyone you do approach on LinkedIn, really aligns with what you want. Otherwise, it's not. It's going to be a very futile process. And I think too, with LinkedIn, what you really just need to do is start looking at, and do searches, and make sure you keep things up to date, keep things, current, and making sure, because it is in a way kind of like your LinkedIn is almost like a virtual CV. People look at you and see what you have done. And what they will do then is really say to you, it will influence who contacts you. And a lot of times, because LinkedIn is very heavily recruiter centric, you'll get a lot of people from like agencies asking to follow you. And typically with me, what I have found is it's better to say yes to requests from agencies, those who work for agencies, because a lot of times they've looked at your profile. They're very interested in something you have, some of the experience you have. And so they will contact you and work with you. And so the best thing to do is to always keep them, it's always to accept their request, I would just say. And if they, after a couple, months and you haven't heard back from them, you can always unfollow them. There's nothing really, wrong with that. But I would really just say to you is, just take the time, accept follows from like agencies or businesses that are very much aligned with you. What I would really say to you is be very careful about just accepting anybody's request if it is just somebody, kind of just some random individual. Do see what you can see on their posting and what they posted to see if they really kind of align, because unlike other social media platforms, LinkedIn does value, at least from my experience and my kind of understanding of LinkedIn, the value people who have profiles and followers that really kind of align with their area. So if you just start getting a lot of random people that just want to follow, a lot of times that can be a bit seen as like spam. And so just be very careful. I probably, on my LinkedIn profile, probably reject or ignore about 50% of my requests, at least 50%, because they don't really align with what I'm doing. And because it doesn't, LinkedIn will, at least from my understanding, will penalize you. So it is being, again, when I talk about being strategic, this is one of the strategic things you really need to think about when you're thinking about LinkedIn. And again, if you're looking to kind of how to utilize LinkedIn, what do you need to do to build your profile, build your following on LinkedIn to get more calls? Again, head on over to leapstartcareers.com. You can book a call with me. I do also have on it pricing of services to help you with LinkedIn. I do include it as kind of part of both a standalone and also part of like an interviewing and CV writing service to kind of help you position yourself um, with it. So again, head over to leapstartcareers.com. So we're coming down to the last 10 minutes or so. I want to thank you everyone for such a great day, for the questions, the likes, the shares, the follows, and the gifts. And so if you do end the next 10 minutes have another question, feel free to put it down below, because I will pick up on a first come, first served basis. And if I do get a question, somebody that requires me to stay on a little bit longer, I'm not so bothered, as I do have a bit of time I can provide. So if you have a question, feel free to put it down. And so today I've been talking a lot about AI in interviews and redundancies. Excuse me. AI in interviews and redundancy. And I'm more than happy to pick up anything else. And talking about it. So I've done a bit, and I've also spent a little bit today talking about LinkedIn. And tomorrow I will be back at 4 a.m. British Summer Time, taking your questions on anything career related. And after I sign off, I would encourage you to look at Career Advice UK and to take a look at the content, because a lot of that I've talked about today here has been covered in previous content that I have done on Career Advice UK. So I would say, take a look and to use it to help you. I also on Career Advice UK, I also do offer ability to subscribe, and I do, as part of the subscription, do offer several discounts and abilities, because like I say, run the website leapstartcareers.com, so there are some savings there for you. So I do offer that. I also, on occasion, but again, one of these great updates you do when you do make Sam Fletcher, when you do a bit of trying to remove things from your showcase on TikTok, you wind up when you try to delete one thing, you don't wind up deleting the whole thing. I wound up deleting a lot of the stuff I had in my showcase, slowly adding it back. So there is stuff in this showcase. I've done a few content videos, and I have one more coming out this morning on another product. So I would say take a look at that, and to take a look if you're doing a bit of shopping, to take a look at what I do. Excuse me, do offer. So if you have any questions, as we begin to kind of come down to the end of today, feel free to ask, and I'll pick it up on a first come, first served basis. If you still like the feed, please like, please share, please follow. And if you do really enjoy the feed, to let me know, it'd be appreciated if you can send gifts, but I don't require it. But it does help me to know what people are liking and what it does. It helps me to plan future content. So any questions, feel free to put it down below. A Marvel Leveler forever. Thank you for joining. So got about 5 minutes. Any questions, more than happy to pick up. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow at 4 a.m. British Summer Time, taking your questions on anything career related. And so So the one thing, I will, maybe two things I'll have you, heads on, um, when you leave today is to kind of think about the role of AI, both in jobs, how is it going to impact the marketplace? And also, how is AI right now impacting your ability to interview? You know, think about that. Is it making it harder for you to interview? Are you finding that um, people are getting more in depth with your experience and trying to get you to really further explain about it? Hey, Alex, and really trying to dig deeper. Have you tried to use AI products when interviewing? What was that kind of result? Have you lost a job because of AI? Because maybe you used it, relied on it too much, and it wound up having you overstate your skills and then find out, hey, you know, dismissed because you can't do your job. So it'd be interesting for you to think about it and kind of come back tomorrow and share. The other thing to think about, hey, D. Donaldson, um, you know, is to think about um, is UK job market. How has it impacted you? Are you feeling any impact? Are you being made redundant? Have your hours been cut? Um, has your workload increased and you're just thinking it's time to leave? Think about that. It'd be interesting tomorrow to come back and have a little bit of a chat on that. So if you are, thinking about it, hey, good to see you. Think about that, as we kind of wind down, is what impact has the, unemployment rate at 4.9%? And if you're a small business owner, would love to hear your side of it. Has it made it more difficult, more expensive for you? Are you finding that, it is more of a struggle now because the rise in national insurance, national living wage, and higher energy prices are beginning to form the perfect storm that makes it almost impossible. Hey, Chris, thanks for the likes. You know, and is it, making it impossible for you to run your business, to hire people, to keep people on? And are you at the point where you're just having to decide, do you cut people, do you cut their hours in order to stay afloat? What has the, economy and higher taxes have done to your business? Be interested. Um, if you're a business owner, you come back tomorrow and let me know. Hey, Kay, good to see you. And let me know because it'd be interesting. So again, if you are just joining, one of the three things I asked you to think about for tomorrow is impact of the economy, impact of AI, um, and the impact of hey, Paul, good to see you. And they have those and AR, good to see. So if you are just joining, just beginning to wind down, but if you do have a question, feel free to put it down below. I'll pick it up. I don't have a problem staying beyond the next minute to answer it. If you want to, still send likes, hey, no problem. Likes, shares, follows, would encourage that. And if you do feel inclined, but if you don't want to, you can send gifts. Because like I said, it does help me to know what people like and what is resonating with people. Hey, Birdie and Gabriel, good to see you. So if you have questions, put it down. And I will let this run down. And thank you everyone for the gifts, the likes, the shares, the follows. And I will be back tomorrow, 4 a.m. British Summer Time, taking your questions on anything career related. taking questions on anything for related. If you do have a question between now and the next live stream, always feel free to contact me on TikTok. I do look at messages. Also to head on over to leapstarcareers.com to book your free 15-minute call to have your questions, and I can do that in more detail. So I look forward to seeing you all back tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for the gifts, the likes, the shares, the follows. And see you back tomorrow, 4 a.m. British summertime.